Thanks, everybody. Nice to see everyone here, and I've really enjoyed everyone's presentation so far. So my presentation today is about teaching an 200 level theories course in human development and trying my hardest to tie into students' real worlds to make meaningful connections and keep them more engaged. And as a joke, but as an illustration of my assignment, I get a lot of memes submitted, as you'll see, and this is from the popular children's movie Toy Story. Lots of students will show their favorite Disney movie as a connection to the theory. Some of them look like Buzz and are very excited at the prospect of theories being everywhere. Others have a look on their faces more like Woody, some grim anticipation of what is to come. And that's what I found when I started teaching this class in the fall, was that it had maybe not the best reputation in the department. Students would enter the classroom disengaged, already apprehensive that what we would be talking about would not be career relevant, would be about old historical figures, and basically bring no meaning to their everyday lives. Like other departments, human development suffers from disengaged students from time to time, especially in this post-pandemic world where we're trying to encourage broader participation in the classroom, and sometimes it's a mixed bag. So that's what I was starting with. And I had kind of two goals as I approached this class this year, and the assignment that I'll be sharing today as an example is trying to address these two goals for the course. One was just broadly speaking in the course, I wanted to make sure that any theory we talked about in human development had very clear real world ties to students. Some of this I did by inviting guest speakers who use the theories in their actual professional careers to come in and talk to us. But some of this I put onto the students. So in their own out of class assignments, really pushing them to see where these theories about humans show up in their lives and in the things that are meaningful to them. I think this goal goes hand in hand with my second goal of trying to increase students' engagement and belongingness, in part because encouraging them to see these things in the real world helped increase their buy-in. It helped get them, noticing the relevance of this. And by sharing things that were personal to them outside of class with me and the teaching assistants, I thought it might be a nice path to belongingness, sharing value of, again, things that are meaningful. This is the assignment that I wanted to share today, which I call theory examples. So for each of 13 theories in human development that we cover across the semester, I have a very low stakes 5-point regular assignment. I use the same instructions for each one. It just asks them to give me an example, an applied example of whatever concept they want from the theory we've been talking about. I give them a range of media suggestions, but I'm also open to whatever they would like to drop in Canvas. We get a lot of TikToks, we get a lot of song lyrics. I have some examples, as you'll see, lots of children's movies, as I said before. And I try to encourage them in the modeling and setup of this assignment that this is really their time to be creative and to show me something I don't know. I'm a generation older than most of the students. I don't know what media they're interested in, where they're seeing these things in the real world. And I really like them to push themselves to think of creative tie-ins. Two more things I wanted to say that I didn't want to overwhelm the slide with is that I actually do a lot of modeling of this in my own teaching. So one of the things I got asked to do in the fall, which was uncomfortable for me as an instructor, was to play music in that before class period, that awkward 10 minutes of time where some folks who have gotten there early are sitting there waiting for you to start speaking. And I felt uncomfortable just playing whatever my personal listening preference was. And so I made them a deal that once a week or for each theory, I would play them a theory relevant song. I would play them something and use it as extra credit on the exam. I would explain to them, pull up the song lyrics and show kind of the tie-in to the concept, which is very much what they are allowed to do as part of this weekly homework assignment. So I play Destiny's Child Survivor before we teach Darwin's evolutionary theory. I play Simon and Garfunkel's I Am a Rock before we talk about Erikson's psychosocial theory of development, which has a whole stage of growing up that's about intimacy versus isolation. So choosing to be a rock versus integrated with people. And finally, one last thing on this side is, as a part of exam review, because these are so good, I love what they submit, and I feel bad that there's not a broader opportunity for the students to see what each other were turning in. I started this semester using it as part of exam review, we do a March Madness style bracket where they nominate the best theory example from the unit. And then the winners get some extra credit, but I also share them with the class. And it's this really kind of funny, pseudo-competitive opportunity for people to share their media examples and their explanations, again, as a part of the unit review. So these are some examples, and their explanations are too long, but I will call out parts of it. So a student for Erikson's theory of psychosocial development pulled on the Breakfast Club. They're talking very succinctly and really, really thoughtfully about the struggle of identity and role confusion that we see in the adolescence and emerging adulthood timeframe. One thing that I thought was really neat about this is both, as I said, the media examples often surprise me. So things that I watched when I was a teenager, it's very funny to see them coming back from students nowadays, but also because when I've tried to push at similar kind of attempts at application in standard discussion board posts, I don't get nearly this level of quality response, right? So this seems for some students to have really met them at a good spot in between challenging them, but also pushing them to really do some nice kind of thoughtful application. This is from the Barbie movie in 2023. The clip that the student shared is entitled "Ken Discovers the Patriarchy," when we were talking about social role theory. One other thing I probably already said that I love about this is their examples are really funny. So we get in the grading, we get a little bit of humor, but they're really nice, right? So they're really well done. They're able to draw out concepts from social role theory and gender role theory that we had talked about, and talk about, just as in our theories of human development changing over time, how this character in this movie is evolving in his understanding of social roles. Finally, the last example I wanted to pull out points to another interesting thing that has emerged solely from the students, that it was not an anticipated goal of mine, which is that some students challenge themselves at the beginning of the semester to use the same media for all 13 examples of human development. So Jalen is a student from this semester who committed herself to Taylor Swift song lyrics, and every single theory example, Jalen stretched herself and she found a time in which Taylor was making a relevant point. So for family systems theory, which happens at the end of our course, she identified Taylor Swift's song 7 and has done a really nice job tackling a concept that many students shy away from or have some misunderstanding around circular causality in family systems, basically how people engage in patterns of responses in families over time where cause and effect are nonlinear. And I love that they decide to do this, that they take on this challenge, and that in doing so, they're really sharing things, as I said, that are really meaningful to them. Taylor Swift is very meaningful to this student, and she's sharing that with me as part of her assignment. Student feedback, I haven't received course evaluation feedback yet for this semester, but I do an anonymous mid-semester check-in. And last semester in the fall, when I had this assignment as well, people really enjoy it. This quote has some other things going on. It is also accomplishing some of my other goals for the class, that people are showing up, engaged, excited to learn, but they do really seem to value and enjoy this opportunity to put their personal spin on the material. I also wanted to use this slide to point out that I think the idea of putting a little photo, a little song, finding a little example from the real world is actually a very translational and customizable approach that I think would be relevant in other disciplines as well. It is easy to see in human development, human examples abound, but I think that these are things that other instructors hopefully could use too. I am a LIFT faculty fellow right now, and one of my major goals was to increase students' sense of belonging. And so with Erica and the LIFT team's guidance, I'm using a standardized sense of belonging scale. And I just got the data from my students who took the course this semester. I had asked them to fill out the survey once in week 1 and then again at the end of the semester, and then just have displayed here the changes in all of these areas. I'm sorry, it's showing up a little wonky. Basically, the takeaway is that all the bars went in the direction that we would have hoped. Perceived peer support on average increased actually the most. They felt more connected to their peers. At the end of the semester, we saw the biggest gain in that compared to the other categories. An example item for that was I have developed personal relationships with other students in class. So I saw a much larger number of students by the end of the semester feeling comfortable reporting agreement with that statement. They also increased in their perceived classroom comfort, volunteering their ideas or opinions in class. They decreased in perceived isolation. That's the direction we would want. The sample item, I rarely talk to other students in my class. And faculty support is all about, do they think I would be helpful to them? You know, could they come to me with a problem? It started out like, I think I read as fairly approachable. So it started out high, but it got significantly higher. That's all for me.